Good morning from Beijing. Welcome to this open information session for the Yenching Academy of Peking University. My name is Brent Haas. I'm Associate Dean and Distinguished Associate Professor at Yenching Academy. Today, this is an open information session, so anyone who's registered can join. We'll also be more specifically focusing on one of our 6 research concentrations at YCA. Today's focus will be the Politics and International Relations research concentration. As you probably just heard, we are recording today's information session, and we'll be posting a link to the recording up on our admissions website soon after today's session ends. This is a webinar-based information session, so you will be able to ask any questions you might want to ask in either the Q&A or the chat function. Some questions might be answered in the Q&A or chat function directly by staff from the admissions office at YCA. Some of them we might indicate that I or one of our guest presenters will answer them directly live after the presentations. So today we are very fortunate to have 2 students who will be joining us, both graduates of YCA, one from the 2017 cohort and one from the 2019 cohort, both of whom were in the Politics and International Relations research concentration. So I'd like to go ahead and get started. My presentation should probably last about 40 minutes, and then we'll have the alumni presentations for about 10 to 15 minutes each after that, and there'll be plenty of time to address the questions that you might leave in the Q&A or in the chat functions. So thank you for your interest, and now how about I go ahead and get started telling you a little bit more about YCA. Okay, the Yenching Academy of Peking University is part of PKU, China's oldest and most distinguished institution of higher education. Peking University was founded as the Jingzhi Daxuetang, the Imperial University of Peking, in 1898 as part of an ultimately unsuccessful series of reforms under the second to last emperor of the Qing dynasty, the Guangxu Emperor. Although as the name suggests, 100 days of reform indicates it was not fully successful, one of the lasting legacies was the foundations of what would become China's system of modern education, including modern higher education. On the right, you can see an overview, a nice shot of PKU's campus focusing on the main library at Peking University. And then you can see the Western Mountains and Fragrant Mountains to the north and northwest of our campus. If you're familiar with Beijing, Peking University is located in the University District, which is in the northwest quadrant of Beijing, outside of the 4th Ring Road. Beijing now has 6 ring road highways circling the city. Won't linger too much on this, except to show you a few slides of the beauty of Peking University's campus. If some of the architecture reminds you perhaps of traditional Chinese imperial architecture, that would make sense. It was specifically designed that way as a portion of our campus used to be part of an imperial summer palace complex that's located just to our north and to our northwest. In the bottom left is one of the most famous areas of PKU, Weiminghu, No Name Lake, a really, really lovely place for a stroll especially during the autumn, which finally seems to have arrived here for us in Beijing pretty much yesterday. A few more shots of Weiminghu, No Name Lake, and other views of PKU. Here we have a few shots of Jingyuan, the Jingyuan courtyard. This is not only a historically and culturally significant portion of Peking University's campus, it's also where the Yenching Academy has our administration building and our teaching building. We're located on the southern edge of the Jingyuan grassy courtyard area, and buildings 3 for administration and 4 for our teaching building. It is truly a lovely place to live, work, and study. One of our dearest residents in Jingyuan is pictured here in the left, Fengzhua. Our cat, who lives in courtyard number 3, has become a minor celebrity around campus. There is a group of caring students who joined an organization to feed, spay and neuter, care for, and document on social media the activities of the many cats that live on PKU's campus. Peking University itself has over 11,500 faculty members that are divided into 51 different schools and departments and 10 national key laboratories. These faculty members, in addition to the committed and professional administrative staff at the university, serve over 46,000 full-time students and roughly 4,400 international students. So, what is YCA? Well, we are a fully funded 2-year master's program in China studies. We look into China of the present, its past, its role in the world, and how China internally and as a result, its external relations and position in the world are changing. We were fortunate to have the full academic and administrative support of Peking University. I have been running, as part of my role as Associate Dean, I've been running the admissions program to Yenching Academy over the last several years, as well as being fortunate enough to teach some classes of Yenching scholars. And I personally attest to the fact that those who join us are truly outstanding, open-minded, interesting, and committed young people. Pardon me. We're also involved in a really interesting interdisciplinary experiment, bringing some of the best practices of interdisciplinary education and research methodology to the already fully formed system of Chinese higher education at the national level. We at YCA, within our China studies overall focus, are engaged in teaching and research in the broadly defined humanities and social scientific methodologies and ways of looking at China. And then this last point here on the slide, a catalyst for international dialogue, might sound the most talking pointy of these talking points, but I think it's actually quite true. When you have a truly diverse group of young scholars from around the world with a shared interest in better understanding China, but with different national, cultural, religious, educational, professional backgrounds, all living, studying, and working together, whether it's in the classroom, it's on campus, in the dormitory, over meals, coffee, or tea, what have you. There really is a lot of opportunity for cross-cultural communication and international dialogue. So we are what you would call a residential program in China studies. What that means is that all Yenching scholars in their first year live together in the Yenching Academy House, a dorm specifically for Yenching scholars. For international students, you will be receiving, all Yenching scholars are guaranteed to receive 1 year of full fellowship learning at YCA. But you should think about the Yenching Academy as a 2-year fully funded master's program. I'll tell you a little bit more about the funding situation coming up in the next slide. The language of administration and of education at YCA is English. So no prior knowledge or proficiency in the Chinese language is required for admission to YCA. But since we are a highly competitive, fully funded graduate program at a prestigious university, we do value students who have, or we do value applicants who have previous background in China studies, which can include Chinese language or personal experiences, travel, living, work, research in China. If that is your academic and professional profile, we suggest that you emphasize that in your application materials. We encourage students to attend other courses taught at Peking University in different departments and schools. For most of Yenching scholars, that will mean generally being limited to English taught courses. But if you are a native Chinese speaker or you have highly advanced Chinese, you can take courses, content courses taught in Chinese at the university. So let's talk funding. So when admitted to Yenching Academy, your tuition is covered. Your housing in the first year in the Yenching Academy house is free. It's covered by our program. You have a monthly stipend, sort of for living expenses, of 3,000 renminbi per month, or roughly about 600 US dollars. I haven't checked the exact exchange rate recently. For your first year, you receive a 1 round trip travel stipend for airfare to and from your home city to Beijing. And then you receive basic medical insurance. This medical insurance is a standard package for international students living and studying in China. Now, when you realize that we generally accept about 120 to 125 students each term or each year, and we have 2 classes of students, so roughly 250 students, you should recognize that we're making a very large investment in not only individual Yenching scholars, but also in the entire student body as a whole. Therefore, we have an academic performance review at the end of your first year, during which you will complete all of your required coursework. We have some very clear sets of performance standards, such as the minimum number of academic credits completed in year 1, maintaining a certain minimum GPA, not failing any of your core courses at YCA, and not violating serious university regulations or the laws of China. Now, if you meet those standards, you simply reapply for your second year fellowship. And as long as you pass those clearly defined standards in our performance review, you will receive the second year fellowship. Therefore, rather than thinking of it as a 1-year fellowship to reapply for a second year, think of it as a 2-year fully funded graduate fellowship with an academic performance review at the end of year 1. We also have plenty of other funding opportunities in both years at YCA. I think year 1's funding opportunity that's most notable is the Dean's Research Grant, a research grant that funds independent extracurricular research projects by either individual or groups of Yenching scholars. This is provided on a competitive basis. You submit a formal research proposal in the fall semester, have a midterm, progress report, and then submit a final research article and are funded for that. In the second year, on a competitive performance-based basis, we also offer teaching assistantships, residential assistantships, office positions, etc. We also fund opportunity grants for students to go to, say, international academic conferences and present papers, or we also offer language enrichment fellowship in the second year for funding for you to continue intensive language study of Chinese if you're an international student, or of a second foreign language if you are a native Chinese speaker. Okay, I need to talk a little bit about this slide here because these are the 6 research areas at YCA. Today, we're going to be focusing on politics and international relations, but I'm still going to give you an overall broad view, broad introduction to Yenching Academy. These 6 research areas will be important to your experience at YCA in 3 or 4 main ways. First, at the application stage. When you apply to YCA, you will choose one of these research areas in which to conduct your master's thesis research. Now, they're still very broad research areas: economics and management, politics and international relations. So for the politics and international relations, we're both looking at domestic politics, structure of the political system, political culture, as well as IR, international politics, international relations, strategy, etc. But it's important that you're strategic about your choosing your research concentration in the application stage. Why do you need to be strategic? Well, first, we want you to apply for something that's interesting to you. When you're in graduate school, you'll be spending a lot of intellectual energy, a lot of time, a lot of even emotional energy, focusing on learning and designing, carrying out, and writing up your master's thesis. You need to like and be interested in what you're doing. But when you're applying to a competitive program, you also need to demonstrate that you have the necessary academic training and or personal professional experience that will set you up for success for conducting graduate level research in the field to which you are applying. So if you want to apply for politics and international relations, but you've never taken IR, you've never taken government or law courses, you don't have any profile, maybe you focused on comparative literature. Well, you should be aware that when we see someone who's undergraduate or previous master's course of study doesn't match up with the research area to which they're applying, well, then we're going to have questions about that. We're going to look at your transcript. Well, has this person taken any IR theory courses? Maybe if you get an interview, we might ask, please give us some descriptions of your understanding of the realist school of international relations theory. These are the kinds of things that we need to ascertain to make sure that if admitted into the program in that research area, you have a good chance of success of conducting research at the graduate level, defending a master's thesis that meets Peking University's exacting academic standards, and be able to graduate successfully. The second way that this research area will impact your time at YCA is in your choosing of a master's thesis advisor at the end of your first year. You will need to choose a thesis advisor who is a professor and an expert and certified for advising graduate students in the field you're looking at. So if you're in politics and international relations, you would probably need a professor from IR, or from international strategy, or from law, or from domestic political, focusing on domestic political systems. So it helps funnel you towards thesis advisors in the field that you have chosen as your research concentration. And then finally, it will be on your master's degree diploma. It will say Peking University, Master of Law, China Studies, Politics and International Relations, or Peking University, Master of History, China Studies, History and Archaeology, PKU, Master of Economics, China Studies, Economics and Management. This is how we've been able to fit China Studies, which is in many ways a new and developing academic discipline within China, into the centralized, regulated degree system of China's Ministry of Education. Okay, I'd like to tell you a little bit briefly about the core courses that all Yenching scholars will attend in their first year. But first, let me continue caffeinating. All right, in the upper left, you can see our core courses. China in Transition 1 and 2 is a year-long 2-semester course that's an interdisciplinary look at contemporary China. We'll go back in history, but more so back about 40 years during the Reform and Opening period. The first semester is co-taught by leading professors at Peking University in shorter modules, a couple of weeks on, say, the Chinese economy, a couple of weeks on Chinese society, a couple of weeks on Chinese culture, etc. This first semester course is structured in terms of large lectures and/or multiple professor panel discussions, combined with smaller discussion breakout sections immediately after the larger class meeting, led by teaching assistants, and into which the professors will jump into the different discussion rooms and join the discussion periodically. The goal of this course is to give you a multidisciplinary look at some of the important issues in contemporary China and introduce you to some of the leading professors and their work at Peking University. The second semester of China in Transition is a smaller course focus. You then choose one of the professors who's teaching the course based on their lectures to you, your interaction with them, and their research focus and their research area, the methodology they tend to use. And then you join a course, a smaller course with the Yenching scholars, dive a little bit deeper into that methodological understanding of China, and design and carry out a group field research project. Another important goal of CIT's second semester is to give you on-the-ground research experience before you do your master's thesis research in year 2. The field study is a required academic course that we take all Yenching scholars in their first year out of the classroom, out of Beijing, to a different city or region around the country for a multimedia field research travel and learning experience. For the first 4 years or 5 years of the program, we went to Xi'an in Shanxi province in central northern China. For the last several years, we've been going to Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan province, and Chongqing, an autonomous municipality very close to Chengdu. This is all down in southwestern China. It is an intense experience. You have lectures leading up to the trip, assigned readings, sometimes videos and documentaries to look online, all in preparation for this field learning experience. Our China Studies lecture series brings in different leaders in fields broadly related to China Studies, academics, artists, business leaders, diplomats, officials to come in and give you, share some of their experience, their research, their a lecture and a discussion with Yenching scholars. And then academic writing is a seminar course co-taught by different professors at Peking University that gives you different takes on how to design, conduct, carry out, review, draft, and write your master's thesis. All international scholars are required to take Chinese language course in their first year, unless this non-native Chinese speaker within the last 2 years has taken and completed, has passed the HSK level 6. For your information, HSK is the standardized test for determining Chinese language proficiency used in mainland China. If you have an HSK 6 within the last 2 years, you can apply to place out of the Chinese as second language courses, but you're still required to fulfill those same academic course credits. We encourage you to do so with at least one content course taught in Chinese at another department or school at the university. An awesome opportunity, but a really exciting challenge as well. Scholars from the Chinese mainland, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan are required to take a second as a non-English foreign language course. Okay. This is the first of 2 slides that gives you some information on the courses that are being offered by Yenching Academy, not outside, not broadly PKU, but by Yenching Academy. Here we have more of the social scientific courses, and the next slide will be the humanities. I want to emphasize that even though these courses are structured in columns that are labeled as politics and IR, economics and management, i.e. one of the research areas, at YCA, you are free to choose whatever elective courses you want. When you apply and are admitted in politics and international relations, you can still take and are encouraged to take courses in law and society, history and archaeology, literature and culture. Whatever you and your first year academic advisor thinks is useful and will either help strengthen you as a China scholar, help strengthen your methodology, or will help build towards your master's thesis research in year 2. So we are interdisciplinary. You do not only have to take courses in politics and international relations. Here are some of the courses in the broadly defined humanities. If you're interested, I am teaching currently a history of the field, sinology, and China studies from a global perspective. And in the spring, modern Chinese history, which will be a look at late imperial and modern Chinese history through a retrospective of the writings of the late esteemed professor of history, Chinese history at Yale University, Jonathan D. Spence. Okay. One very unique aspect of Yenching Academy's academic structure, especially within the Chinese system of graduate education, is our advisor system. So in most cases, Yenching scholars will have 2 academic advisors during their 2 years. The first year advisor is the faculty advisor. You will pick your faculty advisor within roughly the first month of arriving on campus. It'll be a process of mutual selection. You have 140 academic advisors from 24 different schools and departments at PKU to choose from. You will go on, look at their academic profiles, their bios. You will rank the top 3 or 5 choices you have. And then the professors will come in and look at the CV and academic profiles of the students that have chosen them. And if both of you choose each other, then you have your faculty advisor for year 1. The faculty advisor is there to introduce you to the academic system and academic life at Peking University. You should pick someone whose interests somewhat mesh with yours, but they want to meet with you, learn about your evolving research interests, suggest ideas for which classes to take. Maybe they're an expert in your eventual thesis topic. That's wonderful. Maybe they're not. If they're not, then they're going to know who is, and they introduce you to other professors so you can find the proper kinds of academic research mentorship here at the university. Now, for some students, their first year faculty advisor becomes their second year thesis advisor. And that's wonderful if that happens, but we don't think it's reasonable to require students who have recently just arrived at Peking University to decide who their academic advisor, their thesis advisor for the next 2 years will be in such a short period of time. Within the politics and international relations research area, here are a few of some recent thesis topics that they've chosen. I hope we can get a sense of the diversity of approaches and topics and methodologies that can be successfully done within politics and international relations, focusing on China studies. So looking at Vietnamese and Chinese media and the South China Sea conflicts, interactions between China's domestic media and foreign policy, United Nations and China's human rights policy, ASEAN-China relations, Taiwanese identity through a film, China's internationalization of global health, etc. So these are just a few of the kinds of thesis topics that our students have done. And hopefully we'll hear some more from our two guest speakers who will be coming up fairly shortly. The fall field study, this is one of the core courses. We will be running two field study trips this year, one hopefully in November, one in June, so that as international Yenching scholars arrive on campus, we can, split it up and have a more manageable trip. We go to Sichuan province, Chengdu, and Chongqing municipality next to Sichuan. When we're there, of course, you're going to see the pandas. You're going to go visit some of the sites, but we're also going to go to one of China's oldest active irrigation projects from 2,000 years ago. We're going to go to unmanned aerial vehicles companies. We're going to go to a natural disaster early warning center that when there was a major earthquake in Sichuan, I think a few weeks ago, depending on someone's location, they got an early warning about the earthquake coming. I think the shortest warning was 10 seconds. That was very, very close to the epicenter. The longest warning that was tens or 100 kilometers away got several minutes warning. We are not only going to go to one of the most important and somewhat confounding archaeological excavation sites, the Sanxingdui site just outside of Chengdu. We're not only going to go to the museum, but because we are Peking University and Yenching scholars, we get to go into the actual archaeological excavation site and watch the archaeologists at their profession. Very, very exciting stuff. In the Springfield study, which is both part of China in Transition 2, as well as being part of other elective courses, because YCA encourages our professors to integrate field site visits and or research projects into even our elective courses, and we fund those trips. You can see how students have been traveling to different groups of students, different provinces, regions around the country pre-pandemic. Our talented colleagues in the Student Affairs Office have also been continuously developing and improving our career development advice and career development programs. These are all on a voluntary basis, but we have things like guest speakers, companies, student recruiters come in every year. We also have discussion panels from young Yenching scholars who are at different stages in their careers, as well as a newly implemented professional advisor system where we find successful professionals, mainly in China and mainly in Beijing, who basically take on several advisees who are Yenching scholars. So you can pick someone who's in a field that you're interested in and maybe do some professional shadowing in their office, have coffee and lunch sharing sessions, advice about where to go in the next steps in your career. And the next step in the career of Yenching scholars when they leave is generally very, very good. We have about 20, maybe 25% of Yenching scholars overall who go on to further graduate study, generally at the doctoral level, most often related to China studies, although we do have a significant group of students who, after leaving YCA, go on to top law schools. And you can see on the right some of the private companies, international organizations, consultancies, governments, etc., that Yenching scholars go into to take the next step in their professional career. The Yenching Global Symposium is our flagship extracurricular, student-organized and student-led event. It is a highly competitive international China studies conference that focuses on delegates who are at the early stages in their careers. I don't know if this is exactly right, but it seems like pretty much everyone's in their 20s. And then we have keynote speakers, we have breakout discussion sessions, we have panel sessions, we have paper introductions and presentations, networking. It's a really wonderful event. The last few years, we've had to do it online due to travel restrictions from COVID-19, but visas are now open for international students, and Yenching scholars are coming back to campus even as we speak. You can see last year's, or I guess it's still this year, last academic year, but 2022's Yenching Global Symposium looked at issues of dissatisfaction with, threats to, and some continued proponents of globalization. Are we seeing the rise of nationalism and nation states taking a larger role and what had been for several decades a globalized world? Now, after another sip of coffee, I want to tell you a little bit about some sort of demographic statistics about Yenching scholars. Okay, so the Yenching Academy of Peking University is a truly multicultural, international, diverse student body. As you can see, the overall breakdown here, we have work to do to improve our intake of students from what might be called the Global South, from Africa, from Latin America. But we are quite diverse nonetheless, and it is an engaging and challenging and exciting community to be a part of. Over the first 8 cohorts of Yenching scholars, you can see these universities here on the list are the universities that have placed the most number of graduates at YCA during our first 8 years. Top universities around the world, obviously, but I want to emphasize you don't have to be a graduate of one of these universities to enter into the Yenching Academy. We have, 348 universities that have placed students at YCA. We're only seeing about 20 of them here, just the ones that have placed the highest number. The majority of Yenching scholars apply and are accepted during their final year of their bachelor degree. About 2/3 to 3/4 of Yenching scholars' highest degree attained before joining us is a bachelor's degree, although we do have a significant number of admitted Yenching scholars who already have a master's degree or perhaps a law degree. You can see the breakdown of bachelor's degrees and master's degree students before they enter YCA. Over the last 8 intakes of Yenching scholars, from 2015 to 2022, politics and international relations has been consistently the most popular of the research concentrations. Economics and management has generally been the second most popular, although in 2022, law and society moved up into the second most popular research area based on the number of admittees. But law and society has generally been a solid third. And then the humanities are down to about like 20%, a fifth of our students over the over the 8 years of the Yenching Academy. I want to emphasize here that this is not a quota-based system. This is not our ideal, breakdown or ratio of different research areas. I think we would all enjoy to have a more evenly distributed research concentration, but we don't plan this. We don't have a quota. This is not, this simply reflects what each year the most talented applicants to the program, the most promising applicants, chose to have as their research area. In 2022, you can get a sense of where the 111 scholars, of which 27 countries and regions, the 111 scholars are from. The institutions of higher education where 2022 Yenching scholars joined us from. Oxford placed a very high number of 7 in here this year. Okay, now let's talk about the application process. And this is my final section of my presentation, which is about 37 minutes long right now. We are, as I've said a couple of times, a really competitive graduate program. We're a prestigious program at a prestigious university that is fully funded. So academic success, your academic record, is obviously very important when you apply. It is running the admissions team is very exciting. Being part of the process is very exciting, but it can be very heartbreaking at times because there's always a group of supremely talented and interesting people that can't make it in each year. So, but your outstanding academic record is something that we will be looking for. But we're not just looking only at your academic record, because you'll be joining not just our academic community in the classroom and doing research, you'll be joining our shared living community. The student culture is very important here. And so we want to know about how you will fit, how you will contribute to our broader community at Yenching Academy and at Peking University in general. So we are interested in your extracurricular activities and achievements. Have you, started a company? Are you involved in charity or social work? Are you an artist or athlete or a musician? What ways are you committed to improving the lives of your community and people around you? If there are these kinds of things outside of the classroom that are important to you, tell us about them. We want to know. That's a way for us to try to get to know who each applicant is a little bit more so than their GPA and the courses they've attended. We strongly value students who have experience and or commitment to cultural diversity, learning about and communicating with different people and across different cultures. We are a China Studies graduate program. So we want to see scholars who are interested in the academic study of China. But, so what does that mean? We do want the fully formed China nerds who are coming out of college with a major in East Asian languages and civilizations and a minor in Chinese language and Japanese language and want to go to grad school. Sure, we love that kind of applicant, but you don't have to be. You could also be someone who majored in economics and minored in Chinese studies. So you also could be someone who, majored in sort of computer science. And now at this point in your career, you realize your career is going to take you somewhere connected to China. And YCA is the perfect opportunity for you to begin to build your China-related knowledge to move that into your career. That kind of applicant is also very, very welcome. It's a profile that we look for as well, someone who has achieved and learned in other areas, not necessarily related to China, other disciplines, and wants to use YCA as a platform to begin the process of becoming a China scholar or becoming someone who is well-versed in China plus their field to be able to build a career that way. So if that is your profile, please apply as well. And like any graduate application, any job application, we want to see why you want to come to Yenching Academy. We want to see how you can contribute to Yenching Academy. We want to know where you want to go in your career and how we can help you achieve those goals. So there should be a good reason, a good story that blends your past academic training and or professional experience, what you want to do here in your research, and where you want to go in your career. And English proficiency is required. Okay, so we essentially have sort of 2, maybe 3 different application paths for citizens of the PRC, mainland Chinese residents. Unfortunately, the only way to apply and be admitted to the program is through what's known as Tuimian, the exemption from the National Graduate Entrance Examination. So what that means is you need to have attended your bachelor's degree at a Chinese university in the mainland, and through your academic performance like GPA ranking, in your department or school qualified for 推免, for exemption from the graduate entrance examination. Unfortunately, that is currently the only path that is open for mainland Chinese residents. For international students, you apply through Yenching Academy or Net Apply, etc. Basically our application portal. You submit a CV, you fill out the form, you 2 letters of recommendation, academic letters of recommendation, personal statement, statement of research interests, supporting documents, etc. Then it's document review, potential interview, potential admission. For students from the regions of Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, you do the same application to YCA, but you also have a separate Peking University application portal specifically for applicants from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. If you do not do both, if you do not complete PKU's so-called HMT application system, you will not be eligible for admission. Very, very important. If you are from one of those regions, please, please, please go to our website and under the admissions tab, look at the details for applicants from the Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwanese regions. Okay, international candidates and those from HMT applicants when you're applying to YCA. We have just international candidates. The application deadline is about a week earlier than it has been in previous years. This is because the Lunar New Year is a little earlier and our winter break starts a little bit earlier. It is November 27th, 2022. November 27th, 2022. This is the standard application, but you might be from one of our partner universities. You need to go to our website and check about partner university, the universities that are partners with the Yenching Academy. At those universities, we have arrangements with them where students and alumni of partner universities need to first apply to the partner university, generally to the fellowships office there. The partner universities then conduct an internal review and nominate students who applied through them to YCA. Please check on the partner universities or reach out to us at our email address and we'll give you more information about that. So what do you need to apply? First, you do everything at yenchingacademy.netapply.cn. Fill out the application form. If you are a non-native English speaker, and or if you are from Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan, you need to submit a certificate of English proficiency, IELTS, TOEFL, Cambridge, the standard tests. We will need to see diplomas from all institutions of higher education from which you graduated. If you're in a master's program right now, we need to see your bachelor's diploma. If you graduated from a bachelor degree program, we need to see the diploma. If you are currently enrolled in your bachelor's program and won't be graduating until next summer, then a certificate of enrollment is sufficient, but this needs to be an official document from your university registrar. When you arrive, if you're admitted, we do need to see originals of the graduation diploma. We need transcripts, official transcripts from any bachelor's and or master's degrees programs that you have attended or are attending. Now, I know that for those of you who might be in the UK university system, you might not get the transcript for your coursework for your final year until the end of the final year. Don't worry, we know about that. We just need to see your whatever transcripts you have, official transcripts. Personal statement in English, 750 words. Who you are, what your background is, why you want to come to YCA, where you want to go in your career, how YCA can help you get there. The standard application personal statement. And now we also have a 1,500 word, excluding citations, statement of research interest. This is your academic research focused introduction to us. It can be a formal research proposal for what you want to do at YCA, but it doesn't have to be. It can also be your developing thoughts on what you hope to study. Your statement of research interest does not have to be what your master's thesis ends up becoming, but it is a formal research statement in academic writing, and you should be engaging with academic literature. You should be framing your interests within academic literature. Word of advice, not just for YCA, but for any serious graduate program: don't talk about research in your applications without referencing academic literature. The statement of research interest, we used to call it a research proposal, but we wanted to broaden the scope a little bit and give you a little bit more freedom to describe how you think about research and what you're interested in exploring. So think about that. That's also a very important document in your application. We need your resume or CV, pretty standard. Bit of advice, you don't want to necessarily repeat the same things in your personal statement, statement of research interest, and resume or CV. I recommend trying to use these three documents to perhaps emphasize different aspects of your profile. It needs to be the same person, it needs to seem like the same person, but friendly advice, not just for us, but for other graduate programs: avoid narrating your CV, your resume, in your personal statement. And very important here, 2 letters of recommendation. These letters of recommendation must be academic. They cannot be from a manager. They must be academic, and they must be from associate professors, full professors, or higher. Unfortunately, assistant professors do not qualify. This is the standard letter of recommendation requirement at all top Chinese graduate programs. So it must meet those standards. If you have an assistant professor, if you have an internship manager or primary investigator, if you have a boss or someone who was in a sort of management role over you that wants to write a letter of support, we welcome that. But it must be an additional document. It can't fulfill the academic letters of recommendation requirement. Okay. Here you can see some of the some more details about applicants from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. Generally the same, but the application deadline is also set with Peking University's graduate school. Please go to our website for more details if you are from one of those regions. Okay, that's all I have for you today. If you have questions, reach out to us at yca-admissions@pku.edu.cn. Please go to the website, do your research, learn about how we structure the program, who the faculty are, what the admissions process looks like. Look at profiles of current Yenching scholars, and I hope that will give you a sense of the diversity of backgrounds, of academic training, of professional experience that have all led them to become Yenching scholars. And then you can learn about what the interesting things they are that they're doing here while they're with us. You can see our social media accounts there. Please follow us to get a sense of what's going on at YCA. Okay, well, that is the end of my presentation. Let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. We are fortunate now. I guess we're not sharing my screen anymore. Okay, so we have 2 Yenching scholars who are going to be joining us. One from the 2017 cohort, Adrian, one from the 2019 cohort, Dixon. Simply because in China, we respect our elders. And because of the time zone where Adrian is located, we're going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Adrian Bazavan. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. I hope I didn't mangle it too badly, Adrian.
No,
Adrian,
it's quite good. Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you. The floor is now yours.
Well, thank you very much. I'm indeed the elder, already 30 years old. Freshly changed the prefix. Thank you very much. Very I was very emotional to see Dr. Brent's insightful presentation, because I now miss Jingyuan Court so much, Beta and the Yenching spirit. And maybe I especially miss those times when I had all those feelings about what I should study, what extracurricular activities I should take, what are my chances to achieve my career goals, how my future is going to look like. Well, actually, I still live the Yenching spirit. I'm still friends with my colleagues, and I still read the great papers of my professors, because the connection we build with Yenching is really everlasting. And as far as professional life is concerned, well, let me tell you that in whatever stage you are and whatever goals you achieve, the questions about the best path forward are always there with you at all ages, at all steps in your career, because no matter where you get, you still want to progress one step forward, and you don't always know how to do so. So I'm Adrian. I'm from the third cohort of YCA. I graduated in 2019. I'm currently working as a diplomat at the delegation of the European Union to China. I work on gender empowerment, labor legislation, labor rights, health, circular economy, and biodiversity. I have also finalized my PhD in economics at the Bucharest University of Economics with a research on China's innovation policy and the study case on artificial intelligence, topics I'm really passionate about. Previously, before joining the European Union delegation in Beijing, I worked mostly in trade policy and EU, ASEAN, Southeast Asia relations. I will tell you first how and why I chose politics and international relations, and further why I chose YCA to study. Secondly, I will tell you about my experience as a Yenching scholar in China. And thirdly, I will tell you what happened next in my career and academic and personal path after graduation from YCA, which comes, of course, with a few tips of advice. So how it all started. During high school, I was a student union leader. I was representing my peers in the decisional and administrative process. So I was trying to contribute to the good working of our educational system. And this is how I realized what I want to do. I wanted to learn about politics, about good governance, about efficient public administration, about international relations, so that I hoped I can contribute to the society in the future. So this is how I went first to the National School of Political Studies and Public Administration and carried my bachelor in political science. What I soon found out is that political science and IR studies are an amazing asset to understand the world, to give you new instruments to analyze the reality, to find the best solutions. They teach you how to think in a broad way. But at the same time, more specialization is needed to start a career in the field. And that specialization needs to be in a field where there is a need, where there is a demand, where maybe little experts are there available in your country or in your environment. So maybe my first advice would be to find your niche, find the field where your knowledge might really be needed and most useful. Me, as I was fascinated about China's incredible economic growth and social development, while at the same time I realized that there are really not a lot of people in Europe that thoroughly understand China, I decided that that might well be my field, to understand China. I first came to China to learn Chinese, first at Beijing Language and Culture University, and second at Beida, where I fell in love. I really fell in love with Beida because it's such an incredible citadel of wisdom, of great students and researchers from all over the world. So I really knew Beida is the place I want to be. And then exploring Beida's offers, I came across Yenching Academy as the most outstanding program, the most suitable opportunity for me. So there I was, anxiously writing my application and waiting for the results. which luckily enough came positive and I was accepted. And this is how I came to YCA. I actually came by train to YCA. It took me 4 weeks by train, by hitchhiking, all the way from Europe, from Bucharest to Beijing, via Ukraine and Russia, Siberia, Mongolia, because I really wanted to see how far China is, how long is this distance, and how the world changes step by step. So this is how I came to YCA and starting this amazing experience. During YCA, it was really the time of my life. It on the one hand, it offered an amazing platform to learn about China in the way I was most interested to do so. Because YCA offers you the possibility to build the program, to build your progress in the way that you like, in the way that is most feasible for you. So on the one hand, I had access to world-renowned professors, and I could choose the classes and professors I wanted to attend, and not only from YCA, but from the whole across Peking University. So being a student in YCA actually grants you amazing access to whole Beida and actually whole China resources and amazing people and courses. On the other hand, YCA offered so many opportunities to learn about China outside classes. We had career talks, we visited companies, we had study trips throughout China, we met alumni and professionals in different fields at our conferences, such as the Global Symposium or at other events. And what I find very important is that in the second year of YCA studies, we actually had the time and the encouragement to pursue internships. Moreover, besides learning about China, what I didn't know about YCA is that it will give me a great opportunity to learn about the whole world, about countries that are not China. Because I had colleagues, bright minds coming from, I don't know how many countries, dozens of countries in my cohort, from all continents. So I learned so much about other countries during our debates, during our classes, because all the time we would have a debate. We would put things into perspective. We would see how this policy or this administrative arrangement works in Europe, works in Asia, works in China, works in the US, works in Africa. So this is how I learned a lot about other countries. And now I have friends all over the world thanks to YCA. And besides learning, I have to tell you that YCA was really very fun and very pleasant. We had so much fun, you don't imagine. So this was life in YCA. Let me tell you what happened next after the YCA life. Well, actually, as I told you, career life and let's say after YCA life can start during YCA, because I had the opportunity to start my internship in the second YCA year, when you basically have no classes, you're working on your thesis, you can work as a teaching assistant as well, or you can do an internship. I succeeded to find an internship in Beijing. It was my first internship in the field of European Union trade policy, which I didn't know anything about at that time. But for me, that is where it all started. The first internship led me to my second internship in the field, as I was offered to work for 6 months at the European Union delegation to Singapore, which was really my dream, to work in the EU delegation. So already in the second semester of the second year of YCA, I had the flexibility to go and pursue my internship in Singapore, while also being able to finalize my studies. And then I graduated my YCA thesis. I finalized the internship of my dreams. So the world seemed pretty set for me to start a successful career in international relations. Well, not just yet. After achieving these milestones, important milestones for me, I've actually found myself in quite a struggle to land a job afterwards. I applied to dozens of things and didn't receive any response for 3, 4, 5 months. At that time, I felt quite down, to be honest, because I had to go home with no plans in sight, but just to continue applying. So after so much travel, studies, internships, it's not really great to go home empty-handed with no job, right? Well, after I returned home in 2 weeks, positive answers started to come. It was 5 months later than the time of my application. It just took time. I got my first job, and then I actually got several offers at the same time, and then things moved forward. So my advice, don't be harsh on yourself. Things are not always working at the speed and pace you'd like. But be perseverant, continue to apply in a very targeted way, of course, to the things you're really passionate about. Find all the ways to connect to that workplace by participating to their events, learning about their culture, reaching out to current employees, because a plain application might not be sufficient for a job or for a university program. And don't forget that it is an ever-continuing progress. It will not be done after you land your YCA program of your dream. It will not be done after you land your dream job, because after you will do so, you'll be striving to get better, to push forward, to learn more, and to grow within your organization, your field, or your academic research. You know those ambassadors that maybe you would like to be an ambassador? Well, let me tell you that they're also striving to get better. And finally, enjoy the journey, not only the destination. Life and career are so much also about the joys, the achievements, the people, the smiles, and the love you encounter all along the way. Feel free to contact me anytime via LinkedIn, WeChat, or email if I can tell you anything more about YCA or about working in European Union organizations, institutions. And I'll be very glad to connect with you. I'll put my contact details here on the chat, so feel free if I can be any time of further help.
All right, Adrian, thank you very much. I think it's very, very cool that you traveled via train from Europe to China. That is a trip I've always wanted to take. And you're going to get zero sympathy from me for being 30. That's not old at all, but there was a lot of wisdom in your presentation today. So maybe you're an old soul at a young 30. Excellent. Thank you very much. Now we'll go ahead and have Dixon do his presentation. I'd like to remind everyone who's attending, please, if you have any questions at any point, please feel free to type them into the Q&A function or the chat function. We'll either answer them in the function itself, or we'll mark it as something we'll talk about afterwards. And you don't just have to ask me questions. You can also ask questions directed towards our alumni presenters. Dixon, the floor is now yours.
Okay, so I just get into it then. Hi, everyone. My name is Agbaji Dixon David. I'm from Nigeria. I was a member of the 5th cohort of the Yenching Academy of Peking University, majoring in politics and international relations. After Yenching, I continued my studies here at Peking University, undertaking a PhD at the Graduate School of Education. The program is International Education Development, and my research focus is on the foreign aid and education completion across African countries. So more like comparing Chinese aid and Western aid across African countries. And during my time here as well at Yenching, I had the opportunity to do some internship work at APCO Worldwide, an American consulting firm, and I also interned at UNICEF China Country Office during my time here at Yenching. But then prior to Yenching, I worked in Nigeria at Champion Breweries PLC. It's an affiliate of Heineken International. I believe so many of us know Heineken. And then over the years, I've also had the opportunity and the privilege to publish some academic papers and also attended academic conferences. Interested in issues of politics, international relations, particularly development studies, education development, foreign policy, and issues of corruption. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'll just move straight to motivation to apply for the Yenching Academy. Before coming to China, I was reading about development in Asia, and then I heard about a country that grew within a space of about 30 years, and that fascinated me, and it drew me to want to know more about this country, what really happened. And then I checked about China, and then the interest to study here started to grow. Now, when I saw Yenching Academy, I knew firsthand that this was a program for me because it offered me the opportunity to learn about China's development experiences within China. So it's not just one sitting afar and seeing this, seeing the process unfold, but you're here, you're feeling the policy impact, you're seeing how the country is moving with time. So it's more like a first-hand experience of that. And then the next is network of like-minded scholars. In my class, we're over 100 students, and so far in Yenching, we have about 850 scholars. I'm not exactly sure about the number of countries, but I know over 60 countries. And all of us all have, why I say like-minded is because we all have an interest in learning and studying about China. So it depends on what aspects anyone brings in. So even within the broader politics and IR, some people are coming from the idea of understanding it from foreign relations, foreign investment. Some people are coming from issues of diplomacy, even from whatever concentration YC offers. So you just have a group of people who are interested in studying China. And then another is learning a new language. So I didn't know a word in Chinese before coming down to China. Though I had other opportunities to study in other countries, but then I decided to choose China because the world is transitioning. As I say, this is the Asian century, and an understanding of China and Chinese is very important to as one moves on in career and even life generally. So I needed to, I felt like I wanted to learn something new. And then the last motivation was the blend of research funding, leadership opportunities, and travel opportunities in YC's curriculum. YC's curriculum is so diverse, so diverse. And then there are different research opportunities to grow your research skills. Bear in mind that this is an academic program. So you need, Professor Haas already emphasized on that, but I'd just like to reiterate on his points. You need to show your academic proficiency even before applying. So, and then within the program, you also have opportunities to grow your research skills. So they have different opportunities like the CIT research grants, which you do in the second semester, the Dean's Research Grants, field trips around China. Also have the Career Advisor program, and I think recently there's the Young Professional Series and professional leadership mentorship program. So they're just different opportunities, and these were things I saw, and I was like, oh yeah, I think I really need to get myself involved and enrolled in this program. Next slide, please. Thank you. So so far, experiences as a Yenching scholar and in China, I think the top will be volunteering for the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympic Games, and later for President Xi Jinping. Beijing became the first city in the world to host both the Summer and Winter Olympic Games, and for me it was a huge privilege to volunteer as one of the representatives from Peking University. And then I was one of the few international students who sent a letter to President Xi Jinping, and his response was, it wasn't actually something we anticipated, but then as soon as he responded, we felt like he listened to us, and one of his words were, try to understand China, travel around China to experience the real China. And it's something that actually aligns with the Yenching Academy program of, trying to get you across across different areas in China and different sectors to experience China from your own perspective and your own experiences. So next will be the Yenching Global Symposium. So we have our flagship program, and I was the co-director of logistics, planning the 2020 Yenching Global Symposium, but because of the pandemic, it didn't occur. But for me, the learning process and working with my colleagues were like something of value to me that really gave me a lot of insight and made me appreciate the community in Yenching. Another is the diverse group of scholars. We have this term, we say mini UN, because you have different people from different parts of the world and all coming in, like I said before, with an interest in China, but everyone comes with their different skills. I had a roommate who speaks about 4 languages or 5, if I'm not mistaken. He plays the pipa. So you just have like diverse group of scholars with different interests. You get to learn and you get to network. And as Adrian said, you'd have friends literally from all across the world. And that's what I've also experienced here at Yenching. And then next is incredible work and teaching assistantship opportunities. During the second year, you have the opportunity to do whatever it is you want, pursue your interest. Some people travel, some people do internships. I did internships, and I also did teaching assistantship. So it was made possible because most of the activities during the second year was online because of the pandemic. So I was able to juggle several work. So it depends on your interests, whatever it is you want to do. During my internship, I like I said, I worked at UNICEF and I also worked at APCO, and there were very amazing opportunities. And then last will be exciting study and cultural trips across China. The picture below with me playing the instrument and singing alongside the elderly man there was taken in Shanxi. And that trip was more or less like a cultural trip to understand China. And the theme of that trip was about Tang Dynasty. And we're going around seeing different monuments, what China was like during Tang Dynasty. We even had like a feast. I was dressed in all the robe, like the royal attire. We had, like, we just staged it, and had that experience. Like, I felt like I was there, like, even though it was like several years ago. So you have an opportunity to not just study within China, but then also explore the country. China is a very large place, and the more you travel, the more you see, the better your understanding of the country, because a lot of people don't really understand the country or just intend to say whatever it is they want to say. But when you come down, you experience it, it gives you a whole new perspective to life. Next slide, please. Great. Okay, so I'll just talk a bit about some courses at Yenching, especially the politics and international relations courses. So note, this was my schedule for the 2019-2024 semester. This is how I designed it, so I would know exactly what day of the week I won't schedule any meeting with anyone. So I just need Tuesday, Wednesdays, no-goes. So you'd see that the compulsory courses were in green and then the electives in blue. So I had like a cross-section of different courses, and then you'd see in purple, Chinese language partner. I had a meeting with my Chinese language partner. So you'd see that the different activities to do to get yourself, and then the program offers you an opportunity to grow. And I've become very good friends with my language partner, and she helps me to also improve my Chinese. So the program offers you all the opportunities you need to grow, both personally and professionally. Can we go to the next slide, please? Oh, great. So for my master's thesis, I worked on the impact of Chinese foreign direct investments in Africa, looking at the case of skill transfer in Nigeria. And I was opportune to have a faculty advisor who also became my thesis advisor. Although it's not compulsory, as Professor Haas mentioned earlier on, but then I decided to run along with my thesis advisor, and it was a very good decision, I would say. Professor Wang Dong from the School of International Studies. So it also ties back to what Professor Haas said initially, based on your concentration, politics and IR, your thesis advisor has to be linked within that area, somebody who is an expert and proficient enough to coach you or guide you for your thesis. So some of the things I learned as working with him, early placement, generally early placement in an advisor to help shape your research ideas. It's one of the good opportunities with the YCA programs. Generally, it helped me refine my ideas. And an opportunity to utilize advisors network when necessary. The advisors have, they're world-renowned scholars, academics. So when you're in a fix with your research work and you feel like they can help, you can always go to them, and they're always willing to listen and supportive. And that's what I experienced with my supervisor, and I was able at different points in time get materials from him and also talk to people whom he recommended me to reach out to. And then quick, consistent response. I think it's one of the best experiences I had with my advisor. And generally, the experience writing thesis, I realized from Yenching is the fact that it promotes independence. The advisors would force you to, not force generally, but encourage you to be independent, but then they would also provide you guidance from a constructively critical standpoint. And also, I had, based on my experiences traveling, researching, writing papers for Yenching, I was able to publish a few papers, articles. Some I did in collaboration with other scholars. So some of them are down here. So changing old habits was one from the paper I wrote my CIT studies. I studied China's waste management in Shanghai, and then I made that into a paper published in Beijing Review. And then past treasures can strengthen present ties was, I never knew I had but I was very interested in cultural artifacts until I came to Yenching, and then I started studying it. I was like, wow, there's so much connection between China and Africa based on the issue of cultural artifact, and that interest spurred me to research more into that, and I wrote this article for publication. So it's more or less your experiences coming to life, and people tend to read what you're being able to do with your studies here in China, and then you're reaching more audience. Next slide, please. Okay, so the last part of my slide, suggestions to prospective students. I just have 4 points. The first is seize the opportunity. It's probably one of the best times in modern history to be studying in China. And Yenching offers an unparalleled opportunity to study China within China from a multidisciplinary perspective. So you need to bear that in mind. It's right now it's a very unique period to take the opportunities now that it's available to you to apply, send in your document. Next is focus. So Professor Ha already mentioned that, but I'd just like to reiterate it. Find a track that suits you. You're here for politics and IR virtual session. So the thinking is that you're interested in politics and IR. So even within this track, find something like a theme within it that suits your interest and puts in effort to develop your research proposal. That's really important. Professor Ha talked about demonstrating your understanding of what the program can offer to you, right? I would like to add another. So you show why you're a good fit for the program and how you can contribute to improving the program. So it's more like everyone is looking to develop, right? But you also show that in this way you stand out amongst every other person who says, yeah, the program can help me do this and that. Now you're saying, this is what I can do to contribute to the community. It helps you stand out as well. And then another is network. I said initially, YC has over 850 scholars in all 8 cohorts. So try to connect with both scholars and alums and learn about their experiences. Angela and I have only told you about our experiences. There are other scholars who have also diverse experiences, like fun stories, amazing stories from different sectors, you know, or different research areas. So understand the experiences, and then they could offer you tips on developing winning application documents. I mean, we have undergone the same process you intend to undertake. So reach out to Yenching scholars and learn more from them. Next slide, please. And then, yeah, good luck with your applications. I'm looking forward to meeting you on the Peking University campus because I'm still here. So whenever you come, so to see and probably get some tea. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dixon. Really appreciate you joining us for today's information session. It's been a pleasure seeing Adrian. Thank you for joining us, especially since it's the middle of the night where you are. Please go get some sleep. Dixon, always good to see you again, even though it's the middle of the morning where I know you are. You're in one of YCA's offices in Jingyuan Courtyard 3. I can tell even with the background blurry. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for sharing your thoughts and your experiences. I'm certain it's been very, very valuable for those in attendance.
Thank you very much as well. Very glad to see you all.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good. My pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Okay, with that, we're going to call the end of today's information session on politics and international relations. Hope everyone stays as safe, sane, and healthy as possible. And I hope to see your applications coming in the next couple of months. Take care.